Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about how we can non-destructively switch to Linux, as we can keep our computers exactly as they are, assuming that we need to get some work done. And then what we would want to do is just play around with different Linux distributions in such a way that will not damage your existing computer. So we're going to talk about 5 ways you can try Linux without changing your current system, assuming you don't want to go cold turkey. Of course, if you do, we do have some videos on switching to Linux cold turkey, so go ahead and check some of those out. As our scenery today, I chose the beautiful Allegheny National Forest at the Jake's Rocks area. So enjoy the scenery as we talk about 5 ways to try Linux without destroying your current system. So the first way we'll talk about testing out Linux on your existing system without changing anything is virtualization. This carries with it the greatest advantage in that there is really no alterations you make to your system at all. You're installing a software package for virtualization, and that is it. Now, this comes in a couple varieties. There's Hyper-V on Windows already. You also have VirtualBox and VMware. Now, each of these carries with it its own advantages, disadvantages. You see a lot more tutorials on VirtualBox because its licensing is open source, whereas VM, you don't see a lot of discussion and tutorials on VMware because of its licensing. I know they just came out recently and said, VMware is now free, VirtualBox has no more purpose. VMware was always free until a big company took it over and started charging a boatload for everything, and then they made their free personal tier free again, okay? But even their free tier does not a commercial license. So you can't use it for business purposes, but you can use it for testing. So if we're talking about using Linux, testing things out in a personal environment, if VMware works better for you, use VMware. You're not going to see me doing a video on it because that would require me to have a commercial license for VMware. That's why more of your tutorials are on VirtualBox. I do have a lot of tutorials on using VirtualBox. I don't have any on Hyper-V. That's something more related to Windows, and I think it's called Hyper-V. I just know Windows has its own virtualization system out there. So virtualization is best because you can install whatever the software it is, it's for your system, and then you can just follow the tutorials online. Download a .iso file, throw it in that VirtualBox, and try it out. Now, the disadvantages of virtualization, it does take a system with more system resources. You're going to want to have at least bare minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM to have a good experience on virtualization. 16 is more preferable, so you can allocate a lot of the resources to the VM and keep enough system resources to keep your main system running smoothly as well. So it does have that disadvantage. If you have a lower end computer, virtualization is not going to be for you. Anything else, very easy to do. Now, you will need to make a change in your BIOS in order to enable virtualization on your computer in order to use any of these applications. Usually, most BIOS already has that enabled, but if you get an error about virtualization, you need to go into your BIOS and toggle that option on. But virtualization is a great option to test out Linux without destroying or damaging anything on your current system. So the second thing that we can do is you can use a live key with persistence. Now, you can use a live key without persistence, but persistence allows you to save some of the changes that you do as you're experimenting things. It allows you to save files. It allows you to do, in some instances, install applications. Now, persistence is not quite as easy to figure out in some cases. Rufus, if you're using Windows, Rufus is a great way that you can download an ISO. You can use Rufus, and one of the settings you have allows you to create persistence. I haven't checked it in a while. I don't know if it allows you to create encrypted persistence. Linux has an application called USB Make, which does allow you to do persistence, but it does not enable encryption. Linux Lite has an excellent guide on how to create a persistent drive on Linux. But if you're still on Windows, you can download the Rufus application. Make sure you're grabbing it directly from their website. And then you can download your ISO. And then when you grab your ISO file, then what you can do is you can create the Livekey. This will allow you to simply boot your computer off of the USB drive instead of your internal device. And this will also allow you to save files and things like that. Now, it may require you, probably will in fact require you to go into your BIOS and toggle some settings to allow you to boot from the USB, or you can just plug the device in, hit the one-time boot menu key, which is usually F9 for HPs, F12s for Dells, F11s for some other computers. Try one of those keys. This will get into a one-time boot, and you can say, hey, boot off of this time instead of that. Now, sometimes Windows goes right into it, does not even allow you to access BIOS unless something goes wonky. So you can get into that settings screen, into the settings of Windows if you have a Livekey and you're trying to test it out. So using a Livekey with persistence is great. Of course, Tails is a build designed for that, although that's a little bit more advanced. That's more for a privacy OPSEC than it is for just testing out Linux, but it does have one of the best persistence in that you can install applications. Everything is encrypted. The problem with that is everything's onto the Tor network, and we're getting a little bit more advanced computing at that point in time. But you can do a Livekey with most distributions. Ubuntu allows a Livekey. Linux Mint allows a Livekey. Most distributions do. There's a few that don't. Debian, you have to explicitly download a Livekey. There's a variety of them in there. I don't remember which other ones are live or not live off the top, so you have to do the research for the distribution you're looking at trying. I did mention Linux Lite. That does have a live option as well, so you can go ahead and test that one out as you are doing your testing. So USB keys and persistence is a great way to test out Linux without altering your existing hard drive. So the third way that we can test out Linux without damaging your hard drive, we start getting into some areas where you have to be a little bit more careful. This is installing Linux on an external flash drive or an external USB hard drive. This is a very good option because it allows you to have a really good system that's full install. You can test it in its full glory. Now, the challenge is some distributions, even if you say, hey, install it onto the external drive, it still messes with the boot record of the first drive. I'm recommending MX Linux if you want to try this because it does a good job of preserving your first disk. I have a recent video about that. You can have a look at that video there to learn about how to install it. We did it on a flash drive there. You can just as well do it on an external SSD or a hard drive. This works great, by the way. I have run several Linux distributions on external. In fact, one of my computers right now is, actually two computers I have are external flash drives. I stick the drive in, boot the computer up, use that one-time boot menu like we talked about in the previous tip, boot into that drive, but now instead of having a live persistent, I have a full installed distribution where anything and everything that I do, it's exactly like running a computer internally. We just haven't adjusted the main hard disk on your computer. Now, it's always best, if possible, remove the primary drive on your computer prior to installing Linux to minimize any potential damage to that drive. Because there is a little bit of higher risk with this. That being said, some cases in modern computers, it's not always possible or easy to do. So that's why I spent the time to find a good distribution that would work without impacting that drive. And that is why I look at MX Linux. There's probably other distributions that would work as well. I tried Linux Mint. It does not work with that. It still tries to mess with that first drive for whatever reason right now. Maybe that's a bug that will be fixed, but that really is a way to do it. External drive, it gets a little bit more expensive, but does get you a lot better experience for really testing things out. So definitely try out the external drive on that. Mountain laurels, you gotta love them. For our fourth method, we're gonna talk about installing a new drive into your existing computer. So this carries with it a advantage that you're taking a full advantage of the SATA drive on your system, not just the external USB ports, which can be slower. So we'll have a best overall experience. You can install that hard drive. Now, this works best, of course, with a desktop, although many laptops these days can support multiple drives, particularly since laptops are transitional between SATA drives on the one hand and M2 chips on the other. So what we're gonna do here is, if possible, open up that computer and have a look at can you remove the drive? Usually it's an M2 NVMe drive that you can pop out, but they still have a SATA port. In some cases, I've seen computers where you might have to buy a $10 cable to re-enable the SATA port, but it's still possibly optional. That's laptops. Desktops, they usually can support a ton more drives than they come shipped with. So open it up, pop the other drive in there. If possible, pull the first drive out. Download your ISO, put it onto your Livekey, with using Rufus we talked about earlier. You can install Linux on that drive and then plug your first drive back in, and then you're going to access whichever drive you want with that one-time boot menu, or you can default to using Linux, have a little bit of a timeout, and then set a default as to which boot order you'd like. So you can still call the bootloader on the second hard disk, have Windows as the first option, and boot into Windows unless you intervene, push the down arrow, and enter into install Linux instead. Boot Linux instead, I should say. So the internal hard drive does get you a lot better experience, that you have a good dual booting system, but you're not impacting that hard drive. Remember all these tips, we're not impacting the current hard drive on the system. This is a great way to do it, to test things out. It's going to be very fast. It's going to be running a full-fledged Linux distribution. You can install applications. You can, basically it's a full functioning system. You're just running this drive instead of that drive. That works great. It's a little bit more advanced and costs a little bit more to get that internal drive installed in there. That's why it's a little bit later in my tips. But that is one of the great ways to test out Linux without impacting your current computer. So our last tip is going to be buy another computer. It doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, with Windows pushing out the new requirements, many people are going to throw away perfectly good computers, or maybe try and sell perfectly good computers in order to get a new one. With this, we're going to see a flooded market of much more used computers. Computers running Windows 10, even Windows 7, run beautifully on most Linux distributions. So definitely consider picking yourself up another computer if you want to try out Linux. That way, hey, you have like two completely different computers now. You know, one of them could have catastrophic issues and you still have the other one going. That's a great way to go. Where do you do this? Well, you can buy used computers on Amazon and eBay. Of course, be careful. Craigslist, always be careful. I always meet people in public places if I'm doing Craigslist stuff. Amazon does have good prices on used equipment. I've bought a couple used computers from them before, and I've had good luck with those used computers. Additionally, you could try out, if you're in a university town, they might have a surplus supply store. I bought in very good computers of those for under $100, and they work out well. In some places, you could go up to the e-waste and see if somebody didn't just throw away a computer that just needs a part or something, if you're more technologically inclined. So there are a number of ways you can source yourself a computer that's not super expensive. Now, if you are buying one from a store, if you're paying a little bit more money, you might do a little bit more due diligence. Search that computer model plus Linux to see if people have had issues. There are a few small hardware issues will have problems. Some of your super low-end computers, you might buy at like a Best Buy, particularly if it's a Chromebook. Chromebook is a different type of processor. Most of those don't run Linux super well. Some of them do, some of them don't. They're hit and miss. We're talking about regular computers. Some of them have some goofy things that make it very difficult, if not impossible, to install Linux, although that is still pretty rare. That being said, you can try out different computers, get a secondary one. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can just be a used one you find at a garage sale or at a flea market or at a just online auction, just a number of different places. But buying another computer, this gives you the best flexibility to try out a lot of things without any possible risk of damage to your existing computer. So that way you get a chance to test out Linux in a variety of different ways without having any problems regarding your regular setup. So you get the best true experience of having its own dedicated box as well. That's definitely a way I would go if you have the money or the means to pick up another computer. So hopefully those tips gave you enough confidence to think about testing out Linux, knowing you can test it out in many ways without impacting your current computer. So with all of these collective things together, I personally did a lot of testing with external USB drives because I actually built my main computer in such a way that I can easily disable my main hard drives with simply the push of a button. If you don't have that option, it's not usually difficult to open up a computer and pull out that first SATA drive. That's the method I tend to like the most. Of course, distributions now are getting a little bit heavy for regular USB drives, and so it's probably better to do the USB hard drives, the backup drives, or a USB SSD was probably a better option that you might have. So with that, those are the tips that we have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed the beautiful scenery here at Jake's Rocks in the Allegheny National Forest outside of Warren, PA. With that, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Hit that notification button if you like such things. Leave us a comment and a like down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.